All right, I just want to share one thing I started to do. Um, I don't know if anyone else uses the wonderful app Libby. Anyways, it's the app that shares audiobooks and books, digital books that you can read on your tablet or your phone, and then be able to just, get them for a 21-day period, read through them or listen through them, and it automatically will return them for you, which is a lifesaver for me because I'm terrible at remembering the little things sometimes. And returning a book somehow drops down the list, especially when the book somehow has disappeared when I want to return it. But I've started to branch out, because I was listing off books, or at least going through and tagging books that I wanted to read, and I've noticed books that typically would not be on my reading list. Typically, it would be, oh, this is meant for, women. This is meant for somebody who's part of LGBTQ. This is meant for somebody who's African American. This is meant for somebody who is not me. Even if it's just a written story of somebody like that, it feels sometimes like, oh, is this in fact written for me? Is this like from a woman's perspective, or somebody who is of a different racist perspective? Am I relating to it? I guess, I started to question that mentality because it put me in, I guess, what I would call a bit of a silo, or a bit of a, let's just say, a closed off mental space where the only things that I would listen to would be, yes, of personal interest, just like a lot of people would do the same, but it would shut me out to hearing perspectives that would open my own view of the world. So I started listening to this audiobook called Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. Hopefully, I'm saying the last name right there, Tiffany Dufu. And it's just about women who do the majority of the housework at home, even if they're the main breadwinner, or even if they're holding up a full-time career and then some, um, that they are the expectant party in relationships to take care of the children and to take care of the home, on top of their full-time career, on top of their other responsibilities, on top of being a woman. Like, sometimes I guess I say this as somebody who's grown up with two sisters, a mother, been married for almost 20 years, and I just feel like there's a lot to the monthly life of a woman that men don't need to deal with. We have it a bit easier, um, and we don't need to go through having periods. We don't need to go through um, menstrual pains. We don't need to go through menopause. And honestly, yes, I'm happy about it. But like, despite me growing up with women my whole life, I've never really bothered to learn too much about what it is to be a woman, because I felt like, well, okay, I understand the gist of it, and I feel like a sympathetic party, and I feel like I can, do a little more here, and that's enough. But to actually hear and listen, I think that's what this is all about: is learning to listen, not just using our ears to hear the same thing so that we can pat ourselves on the back because we already know what we're listening to. Some of these business books and some of these productivity books that I listen to, I'm like, oh yeah, well, I know that. Great. Well, maybe you need to listen to a different perspective, because not only will it give you that current insight, I think overall it will change direction and action and your capability to be able to connect and serve, help those who aren't you or those who aren't like you, because you actually see them and see the struggle or see what they're going through or see where they're coming from. Like for Black history or Black rights, I just, not directly pertaining, but I went through an anti racism course, and it kind of was like, oh, maybe for, I've had friends who are Black, I've had friends who are Native, I've had friends of other races, but like when it comes down to it, I'm like, oh, I love your food. It's like, wow, that's shallow. But really, it's like, do I know much about your actual culture aside from the parts that I, wanted to know about because it's fun or it tastes good, or it's something that is visibly apparent to me. Like I don't need to put in too much effort to figure it out. No, I guess not. I mean, it's inside of our day-to-day conversations. I'm not like closed off to asking questions, but it's not like it's directly related to what it is like to be Black, what it is like to be a woman, what it is like to be gay, what it is like to, and let's not stereotype because everyone's experiences are different, but just in general, like a lot of experiences are also the same, and just opening up to hearing some of these, even if, you know, might not be everyone's experience that we're listening to, if we are opening up to listening to more from other people, and not just through audiobooks, and not just through reading, and not just through whatever we watch. Like, yes, we can bring in a little more culture into our everyday Netflix and chill, or everyday YouTube viewing, but we could bring in more through just connecting and digging a little deeper in conversation with people, instead of what you do. Really dig into who you are, and where did you come from, and how is it like being you. Just learning how to ask better questions. I'm still having to do that because I sometimes quickly resort to those basic questions. But yeah, I'm on a bit of a rant. I just want to share that, open your perspective, and it'll serve you in ways that you cannot imagine yet, because from your own perspective you can't see it. Anyways, talk to you later.